Thanks for having me, Paulo. It's a pleasure. It's not that late. It's 4 p.m. where I am, so
It's okay.
middle of the afternoon. Um, Hope you all have been enjoying the event so far. A lot has changed in the last year and a half. The consumer behavior has changed, and I'm going to be talking about that, and also show some examples on how brands can adapt to those changes. Quick introduction first. I'm an analyst at Globaldata, like Paulo said. Globaldata is an analytics and insights provider based and listed in London, in the UK. We cover a wide range of industries. You can see them all on screen now. So that's from aerospace to pharma, but it includes consumer and retail as well. And that's going to be our focus here today. Quick summary of what I will cover. I'll start with the macro outlook, then move to show some of the data that reflects the changes in consumer behavior, and finally close with some examples on how brands and the industry can adapt to those changes. So let's start with the outlook. We talk about a post-COVID world, but here's a reminder that the pandemic that has dominated our lives in the last year and a half has not gone away. Last month, an additional 15 million people worldwide got infected with the coronavirus, so it's still here. Vaccines have, however, brought some degree of normality to some parts of the world. The data that you can see on the screen now shows the vaccination rates of the top 15 world economies. Major economies in Latin America, like Brazil and Mexico, are catching up. In Brazil, almost 70% have had the first dose. In Mexico, that's almost half of the population. There is still catching up to do, but most markets are slowly getting back to some sort of normality. This is Globaldata's economic recovery scorecard. It ranks 35 leading countries on how well placed they are to recover from the pandemic. It's updated monthly. It's based on a number of indicators, including GDP growth, unemployment, inflation, industrial output indicators, macro indicators like that. As you can see, Asian economies rank high. Latin American economies don't do particularly well when we look at these indicators. Mexico shows mid-table. Brazil is right at the bottom on last month's scorecard. Nonetheless, and despite the fragility of the recoveries in most major economies, so let's look in more detail into the retail and consumer goods industries, starting with consumer goods. Equity in consumer goods companies dipped in the early months of the pandemic, but has now recovered and is above pre-pandemic levels. Likewise, with the jobs, deals haven't been affected so much. Globaldata produces two sentiment indicators based on news and quarterly filings from companies. Sentiment looked at the perspective of both these indicators dipped to its lowest levels in early 2020, but has now recovered. This is the same picture in retail, so I won't spend too much time on it. Equity and jobs now well above pre-pandemic levels, and Globaldata sentiment indicator in terms of news and company filings, which was at its lowest in January 2020, has now fully recovered. So we had a look at how the economy and the retail and consumer goods sectors are performing in the post-COVID world. Let's now look at how the pandemic has changed consumers. A good way to show how profound the change has been is to show some numbers from Globaldata's Global Consumer Survey. What you can see on screen now are numbers from Q3. It includes data from some of the major Latin American economies, including Peru, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, and Chile. COVID has driven a decade of digital adoption in a year, and you can see how that happened on this chart. One of the questions that we've been asking consumers is if their lifestyle had changed in the last 3 months. We've been asking that question every quarter. Whereas in the beginning of the pandemic, behaviors such as working from home, ordering takeaway, buying groceries online were new. So there was a high share for started doing this. Now pluralities in most cases and across all markets are saying that they continued to do this. People's lives have become more digital. And even as the pandemic recedes and the world opens up again, those the new behaviors that emerged during the pandemic, they are here. They are here to stay. So, what does a post-pandemic world look like for consumers? On the demand front, the pandemic has changed the consumer in very profound ways. Some of the changes, you can see them on screen now. Consumers spend more time online. They spend more time at home. They want to stay healthy. They are focusing on sustainability, both in their lifestyles and their buying habits. More data from Globaldata's consumer survey that shows that consumer choices are increasingly made with an ethical or environmental focus. The green bars show Asia Pacific countries. Black is for Central and South America, dark green Europe, blue Middle East and Africa, and orange North America. I wanted to show this chart today because for the audience in Mexico or Central and South America, those consumers in that region are actually those that claim to be more ethical and environmentally conscious in their purchasing decisions. In Central and South America, 25% of all consumers claim that ethics and the environment are always taken into consideration in their purchasing, and even discounting for a certain amount of bragging that always happens in surveys. That's a very high figure, and it's higher than any other region in the world. An additional 28% say that it influences their decisions often, and only 6%, a very small share of the consumer base, say that it never does influence their decisions. This is data from Globaldata's COVID-19 recovery tracker survey. It was conducted throughout the entire second semester of 2020. The chart shows that consumers were increasingly buying online, and this was specifically true in larger households. But and this is a big it's that online retail and deliveries can have a large carbon footprint, and this is something that, as we also saw, consumers care about. So brands will continue to invest in direct to consumer, in online orders, but these need to be packaged and delivered in a sustainable way. Brands should look at minimizing their carbon footprints. They should they should look at minimizing the use of plastic, or otherwise they risk antagonizing their increasingly environmentally friendly consumers. Some companies are leading the way on this through investment in sustainable fleets, optimizing and consolidating deliveries, and using sustainable packaging. This is, we believe, not only the right thing to do, but also the safest way to secure the trust of their customers. We saw that COVID and sustainability are challenges for brands and for retailers, but the industry faces many other challenges beyond those two. We list some of them: margin erosion, fragility of the retail model, shift from product to experience, and other challenges. Some of the problems are region specific, like overcapacity, which is not a problem in all parts of the world, equally with shortages, which are seen in some parts of the world and not in others. Nonetheless, these problems to a large extent have technological solutions. We'll list some of the technologies that can help: artificial intelligence, augmented and virtual reality, Internet of Things, big data. Investing in these technologies will put brands on the path to growth. You can expect to see higher growth in e-commerce, better omni-channel chat strategies, more warehouse automation, more in-store analytics, improved supply chain management, and the reimagining of the store space. And that's going to be our focus for the final part of this presentation. So let's look at some ways in which companies can adapt to the new reality and to the new consumer in this part of the presentation. Here's our 2022 theme map for the retail sector. It's very similar to the consumer sector. Some of the themes overlap. The theme map shows the big issues that will be keeping CEOs awake at night. We are going to cover in this section some of them, which are highlighted there. So artificial intelligence, robotics, augmented reality. But there are many other themes that brands need to understand if they are to be successful in tomorrow's world. And I wanted to, before focusing on some of the key points, I wanted to show the full map. So what emerging technologies serve brands, retailers, and their customers better? A lot of the themes that will impact brands are actually technology themes. The chart shows data from Globaldata's sentiment analysis report. This is Q3 data, which was published this morning in UK time. The Q3 report shows that 66% of respondents said that they believe that artificial intelligence will provide significant or at least slight disruption to their industry. Perceptions of artificial intelligence and augmented reality are volatile, and we think that that's because people's opinions about these two technologies are not settled yet, in contrast with other more established technologies like cloud computing or cybersecurity. It's true that implementing augmented reality or AI into a brand strategy presents challenges, but we will show some examples where this has been done successfully. Of the emerging technologies that we saw, artificial intelligence in particular can have a highly disruptive impact on brands. This chart is taken from our AI in retail report. It assesses how 7 key technologies can be integrated across the retail value chain. It helps companies determine which technologies they should invest, ignore, or explore for specific aspects of AI. On that report, we suggest that retail companies should invest in technologies that are shaded in green, explore those in yellow, and for now ignore the areas shaded in red. The areas to invest for retail and consumer, we believe, are data science, smart robots, and machine learning is an area that brands should start exploring. Let's now look at some cases where some retailers are starting to do precisely that. So there's use cases that many use cases that Globaldata analysts are keeping an eye on. All of them include successful implementation of AI, AR, IoT, so Internet of Things, robotics, or at least a mix of some or all of those that go into the overall brand strategy. The first use case that I wanted to talk about is the instant body measurement tool from Amazon. It employs virtual fit technology via the Amazon app. Customers are required to provide details on their height, weight, body style. They are also required to provide 2 photos of themselves to get measured for their custom fit. What does this technology do? It creates a virtual body double with the information that is provided, and it allows customers to see how a shirt will look on them before they buy it. They also have the choice to design the shirt according to their preferences, using different colors, styles, before making the final buy. So AI and AR in here are helping with personalization as well. And what's the big advantage of a technology like this applied to a brand strategy? So online shopping is often challenged by size and fit issues. This leads to a high number of product returns, which means increased costs for retailers, and also an added carbon footprint to the retailers as well. So Amazon's Made for You can solve the size and fit issues, potentially also reduce the environmental impact of online deliveries. And in fact, even though this is a trial that is using shirts, Amazon has plans to expand this to other product categories like jeans, for example. Another example that combines AI and AR is Chanel's Lip Scanner app. It was launched in February 2021. It was developed in-house using a patented artificial intelligence and augmented reality technologies owned by Chanel. The app is designed, in this case, for upselling. It allows users to find the Chanel lipstick that matches other items like a handbag, for example. It took Chanel's team 18 months to develop. Training the algorithm proved difficult, which sometimes, or is a reminder that sometimes implementation of these technologies, even though necessary, isn't always easy. Another example that uses AI, but in this case in combination with robotics, Zara is one of the main retailers using artificial intelligence to enable efficient in-store customer services. They are doing so through improving the buy online, pick up in store model. So that's the BOPIS acronym. Consumers can now place orders online and then go to the brick and mortar store to collect their goods. So to tackle the potential hurdle of queuing up in store, Zara's retail stores have introduced high-tech BOPIS solutions for their online order service. So customers who place the order, they have done so online. They are advised to go to a collection point in store. They then present a QR code that is found in their confirmation email, and then this sends AI integrated robots around the back of the store to search for the correct order, to place it into a Dropbox, and then the customer can collect it. Zara originally tested this technology in a store near its Spanish headquarters. It showed great efficiency. They are now planning to expand it to more stores, and as you know, Zara has stores everywhere in the world. Setting technology aside, we saw that the other disrupting theme for brands is ESG. So that's environmental, social, and governance. We also saw that ESG is front of mind for consumers, not least in the Latin American region. But the question is, are companies in tune with the ESG concerns of their customers? Well, every quarter, Globaldata asks a pool of respondents if their companies are fully committed to ESG. So the data on screen now is, again, from the thematic sentiment analysis for Q3 published today. Almost a quarter of respondents still thought that for most companies, ESG was just a marketing exercise. Although this is still a high figure, I have to tell you that it was even higher in the previous quarter. So there has been some improvement. Another sign of improvement is that now in Q3, 27% of respondents said that most businesses are fully committed to ESG, which is the highest share this response has received since Globaldata started asking the question in Q1 2021. So our polls indicate that attitudes towards ESG are improving. There is still some way to go before all companies take the theme seriously, though. So what can brands do to be aligned with their with the demands that their customers are making in terms of ESG? Again, technology can play a role in here. The example on screen now is a collaboration between Microsoft and Danone, which are using AI to change the food and beverage sector. This program was launched in January 2021, so still relatively recent. Danone and Microsoft announced the launch of AI Factory for agri-food. This aims to accelerate the digital transformation of the food sector. In this program, startup businesses will be jointly supported by Microsoft and Danone and will benefit from an acceleration period for projects that use artificial intelligence for the development of sustainable food, waste minimization, and supply chain management. So this cross-sector collaboration between the technology and the FMCG worlds demonstrates how a combined approach to the future of supply chain management can result in sustainable production. It's the final example that I wanted to show, and I left it for last because we believe that it's the most disruptive of all, and that's Ambient Commerce. Ambient commerce is a new form of shopping which makes use of all the technologies that we talked about here today so far, and some more on top of those. It's a way of helping consumers selecting and paying for their goods without the need for keyboards or cash registers in a store. It's the ultimate frictionless retail experience for the consumer. Ambient commerce allows physical retailers also to fight back against their online rivals by doing this by basically turning their physical space into an asset. So ambient commerce uses several technologies, including cybersecurity, computer vision, sensors, machine learning, edge computing, all designed, like I said, for a frictionless experience. But it also can be used to prompt personalized recommendations to customers into their smartphones, or in the future into devices like AR glasses, for example. Retailers who pioneered this concept have had difficulties scaling it up. You will have probably heard of the issues that the Amazon Go stores faced. They didn't expand as quickly as Amazon had initially planned. Nonetheless, a lot of research and investment is taking place in the background. And we strongly encourage brands to not neglect ambient commerce. So what conclusions should you go away with? Well, first, COVID-19 has changed consumers, and this is a change forever. So it wasn't temporary. Consumers seem to be happy with minimal social contact. Online retail is here to stay. Post-COVID, consumers want to make ethical choices, and even though brands need strong online strategies, they also need to monitor their carbon footprint, not least in Latin America, where this is a top concern for consumers in the region. Omni-channel strategies have become more sophisticated. Successful buy online, pick up in-store models can benefit from investment in AI and robotics, as we saw. Artificial intelligence is the key emerging technology in the consumer industry. It can be powerful when combined with other technologies like AR and robotics. And finally, ambient commerce can provide the ultimate frictionless shopping experience. Few retailers have succeeded in this field so far, so maybe a bit of wait may be required until the technology matures, but we strongly recommend that you keep an eye on ambient commerce. That's all I wanted to show today. I thank this opportunity to present to you and welcome any questions that you may have.